So from here we enter a next village. This is a much older village called Barber, named after a lady called Barbara. And she was the wife of the owner of the main house here. This little village has its fire station and the ambulance, and also a police station with a tiny jail. So here you're gonna get to see a very typical cemetery.
Oh.
It is typical for Curacao with 2 senses. The cemetery has all these little graves on top, and they have the colors of Curacao buildings. Very bright colors, graves that are purple and pink and yellow and green. So every family owns one of these graves. And the dead are buried in the grave and not in the ground. Unlike in New Orleans, where the reason for not burying the dead in the ground is the water, here it is because our soil is way too thick, too hard, and they cannot dig into it fast enough to bury someone within 24 hours. Of course, the 24-hour rule is not applicable anymore, as we do have freezers. But in the olden days, we didn't. So that church that you saw with the cemetery was a Catholic church, and it is actually the first church where they allowed the enslaved to go inside of the church. Most of the population here is Catholic, about 70%, and that's because the missionaries came in the early 19th century, around 1800, and they converted all the enslaved to Catholicism. But we do have all other religions represented here as well, all sorts of other Protestant denominations. We have Jewish, we have Muslim, we have Buddhist and Hindu. So anything you can imagine is represented here. You can also already start seeing the countryside going gray. These plants shed their leaves just like in the north, where they shed their leaves in the fall. They shed it so they can preserve the main branches until it starts raining again. Especially the wabi, which is the one with the very long thorns. As soon as it rains just one big shower, the plant will grow its leaves back again. So one shower can do a whole difference. So what do we eat here? The main staple here is something called funchi. It is a cornmeal that you throw into the boiling water with salt, and you stir it until it becomes thick. And when it's thick to your liking, then you pour it on a plate, cover it with another plate, and it kind of becomes like a cake, and you can cut it like a cake. And we use that instead of bread, instead of potato, instead of rice, instead of pasta. So that is what goes with all of our foods. And we eat lots of soups, and we eat lots of stews. For instance, the stew of the goat or the sheep. Very popular here. We see a red flag waving here on the right of the bus. That's because there are military exercises happening on the terrain to the right. And when the flag is out, it means that they are doing shooting exercises. Now we don't have our own military here. We have a Dutch naval base, and we have an American forward operating location. Very complicated name. It means they help us with the Coast Guard. So they have helicopters and a couple of ships, not ship but boats, and they have some small airplanes with radars on top to help us monitor our beaches. So what else do we eat? We also eat iguana soup. They say it tastes like chicken. I wouldn't know because I haven't tried it yet. So the iguana soup, we also eat a soup that you can make from the cactus that grows like a candelabra. And we can also eat soup from tripe. So many different soups, also made from okra. And then